Okay, we are live. This is MC1 Gamer bringing you another unlocking of this time of Empire. And as we have many times in the past, we have Vince Ventrello here to give us his insights and hopefully his full face, because a lot of times we only see him from the nose up. Thanks for joining us, Vince.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you. Glad to be here again, as always, sir.
So I've had a chance to look over the Empire War Scrolls. I know that you've played them. I haven't played them. I actually haven't played against them either. I know that this is probably the one army that I think has probably gotten hurt the most aesthetically with the change of Age of Sigmar. I'd love to hear your opinion about this. When I look at the Empire, just similar to the Bretonnians, I think they're the most out of sync with the eons of time that has gone past and the changes since the end times ended. And it's really very much an old world look. And I think that's something that some people playing Age of Sigmar might have a problem with if they're really into the Empire or armies and the old world look. The Empire is a big departure. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm of two minds on that. I mean, yes, of course you're correct. Like, that is to say, whatever the Empire was, it doesn't exist anymore, right? So all the state troops and stuff like that aren't around. Yeah. But that being said, I don't know what the elves are going to look like, or the dwarves are going to look like, or anybody's going to look like. So, I mean, I don't think it's fair to assume they're the most departed. I think the one that'll look the same is like lizardmen, right? Because lizardmen are just naked lizardmen. So as long as they're still lizardmen, you're good to go. Chaos will be exactly the same because they're still chaos. I think the undead will change a lot. Like, if you're a big fan of the TK look, like I am, who knows what you're going to get. Here's what I'll say. I don't think it matters any, because things like the TK, we're not getting releases for a long time. We got it rained on us for end times. And that leads me to my second point, which is, who cares? 8th edition fluff still rules. I mean, like, that's all the war scrolls are still there. You still have state troops and halberdiers and demigryphs and Reichsguard and everything else we're going to talk about today. And, like, there's far more of those war scrolls than there are of anything, specifically Age of Sigmar. So, you know, the old world specific war scrolls outnumber the Age of Sigmar specific war scrolls 500 to 1.
Absolutely. I will say this, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on the Empire. I feel bad for the aesthetic look of the Empire, because I do like it. I mean, I like the Bretonnians more, but I do like the feel of what the Empire was trying to accomplish, and it doesn't fit as well with where the fluff of Age of Sigmar, which as much as people who tune in know that I like Age of Sigmar, I'm not really a huge fan of the fluff. I'm not really over the moon on the fluff. I still love the old world fluff 1,000 times better, so I'm with you on that. I will say this, after reading the War Scrolls and going really in depth through them, I was very impressed with really what the power is of Empire, but more so with what I can see their synergy is going to be with the Bretonnians, because of some of the abilities, which I don't want to give away too much, but I'm really impressed with how the humans in general, humans and free peoples, those keywords, you're going to hear about that a lot. So I can see some really incredible combinations. So we'll get through that. So I don't want to give away the I don't want to you know.
You don't want to give away the ending right now.
Yeah, exactly,
sure,
exactly. So that's really good news if you're an Empire player and you've been borderline, whether or not you want to play Age of Sigmar in terms of what your potential is. But do you have any thoughts before we dive in, or should we just get to the War Scrolls?
Overall, I like most of what they did with the Empire, and I think it's really good. I have played against the Empire actually quite a bit, just because one of my regular opponents is an Empire player. So
cool. And how does he feel about it? I mean, what's his feeling about what the differences and the changes, units that have risen and fallen?
Sure, positive on the whole. He always loved. So here's an easy example. He always loved the idea of the Hellstorm rocket battery, which I'm sure we'll come to.
Oh, you're giving it away.
It was a piece of garbage originally. It's better now. We'll see that.
Yeah. Okay. Since you already mentioned it, I think it is, as Remy likes to say, likes to razz me on. It does tremendous damage. It is tremendously bad. I cannot say enough about that rocket battery. So we'll get to that.
It's really good. Yeah,
it really is. It's so much better than it was.
Yes.
Okay, let's dive in. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and we'll go ahead and share the screen. We'll do all the wonderful things that you can do with. There we go.
It's already locked on you.
You got it. You don't want to be locked on me, do you?
Yeah, on you, because you're going to screen share.
There we go. All right.
The Empire.
Yes, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit because I've been asked that a few times. I know there's a few people that have asked about this particular war scroll and have just been constantly messaging me, telling me, hey, when are you going to do Empire? When are you going to do Empire? And the only one I think that may have gotten more requests is Tzeentch, which, you know, may be one of the next ones that I want to do. But I'm really happy that I'm going to be able to, you know, appease the never-ending requests by like the 2 or 3 people that weekly just don't stop saying hello. So let's get to it. As usual, we're not going to talk about Karl Franz, and we're going to go and we're going to bypass the very, very many unique characters.
Sure.
Which I'm sure will take up an entire war scroll, you know, going down the line. But let's start with the Empire General.
Yep.
Take it away.
Oh, all right. I'll start. Sure.
Sure.
So I really think this is the stock standard general, sort of upon which all of the other generals vary from, right? And by that I mean, if you look across all the armies and everything we've talked about, this guy is sort of, you can see the basis of the template, right, for everything from this guy. And by that what I mean is, so standard guy on foot, 5 inches, 5 wounds, 4 up save, 7 bravery, right? He's just like average commander general guy in all ways, right? He has this pistol option, right? Which, so he's got this sort of pretty weak ranged attack that's just a thing he can have. All right, that's fine. And his actual weapon choices, obviously he's got the old Sigmarite weapon and shield, right? He's got the great weapon option. If he's riding to war, which we'll get to in a second, he can slay his foes with his lance. And then the pistol is what is, you get that as opposed to the shield. And then this guy can also have a banner, but it's the kind of thing where like there's kind of, he doesn't trade anything for the banner as near as I can tell. So I guess he can just always have the banner if you feel like it.
Well, it depends on how you play. I know some people play WYSIWYG, and even in organized events, sometimes WYSIWYG is imposed. If that's the case, you know, if he's using that war banner, he's not using that great weapon. But you know, in your own personal games, who cares?
Horse, you're good to go.
That's true. You can always stick it up. That's true. You're right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
There you go. So yeah, see, and obviously he can have his war horse, and then that moves his move up to 12. His war banner, basically, he picks up the totem keyword, which is not uncommon for all these types of guys. And it lets you just basically roll 2 die and take the best when doing battle shock tests for state regiments within 24 inches of him. Now, what we're going to see here throughout the Empire is that there are different generals that align with the different sort of cohorts of the Empire, right? And this guy is your state regiment general. And it was the same thing if you remember way back when we did Tomb Kings, right? So the guy on the foot was meant to work with skeletons. The guy in the chariot was meant to work with chariots.
Yep.
It's just the same thing here.
So this with orcs and goblins. We see this with a number of armies, yeah.
Yep, exactly. I you know, honestly, the best for me, I think, I particularly like just I like weapon and shield. His damage is pretty irrelevant anyways. Like I don't think you want your general to be your combat monster. He's there kind of for his command ability and, you know, for all his other things. So to me, the reason I like the sword and shield is it's fine enough damage. He's -1 rend, 1 damage, meh. Like, yeah, he could get the great weapon, but I'd rather have the 3-up save. And I'd rather have that than the pistol. Going to a 3-up save is such a big deal. Because that's so easy to wander around, get in some cover, and be at a 2-up, and then you're just bouncing cannonballs like nothing, right?
Yeah, Mystic Shield, 1-up.
Sure. Assuming you're not playing under a comp that would prevent that, that's all fine. So
you know who you're talking to.
Absolutely, sure. And I love Hold the Line as a command ability because it's so big. You pick 3 state regiments, which, by the way, I mean, just to kind of look ahead, state regiments are obviously what would have been just state troops in the old army, right?
Right.
Your halberdiers and swordsmen and all that kind of garbage. And you get 3 of them within 15 inches. They don't get to move or charge, but you get 1 to all hit and wound rolls for them until your next hero phase. Given the way combat works in this, where it's not because they charged you suddenly the whole side goes first. I think that can often be a very worthwhile setup, especially since Empire often has pretty solid range, and you might want them to be charging at you. Let's remember this ability later when we come to Handgunners, okay? So I'm just going to teaser right now. Remember this ability when we get to Handgunners.
We can remember this ability with a number of units, but there's a number of situations where I can see this being absolutely devastating. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great command ability.
And I wasn't sure. They could probably this command ability would have been good if they just said 1 state regiment unit. Obviously, not as good. The fact that it's 3 state regiment units, the fact that you also get +1 to hit and wound rolls. Yes, you can't move, but there isn't the same kind of tar pitting in Age of Sigmar as there is in 8th edition and earlier versions. But if you consider 3 state regiment units, the amount of board space that can take up, even though you have to be within 15 inches, the amount of space that will take up, because all you have to do is have 1 guy be within 15 inches.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of space.
It's more than half the board, and the cluster that would involve, even if you're not in rank and file, even if you're not in the regular block formations, that's incredible. And I think that this is a very worthy command ability. Where I think it would even been worthy if it was just the 1. But I'm very happy to see that there's the 3, because it does entice you to take 3 regiments. Why not?
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to General of the Empire on Imperial Griffin. The Imperial Griffin is a beast, man. This is dragon level power. You don't have a breath weapon, but my God, this is let's take the General of the Empire and let's add him to on top of a massively powerful Griffin. So you have most of the rest of this stuff. I do want to say I do like that a lot of the banners and a lot of these other abilities, they're not as consistent throughout because they are segmented. They are compartmentalized. But let's talk about this piercing blood roar. Okay, because it's the piercing blood roar and the command ability that I think that is the real gem of this war scroll. In the battle shock phase, and this is also something that's unusual. I don't see many things that are in the battle shock phase that you get to use. Usually a ranged type ability is in the shooting phase. He uses it, and if he does so, the unit has to take 2 dice, use the highest, and they have to take a battle shock test that phase as if they had to take it. Now, I have a question for you on the interpretation of this. What if it's a single model? What if it's a monstrous model?
It doesn't force a battle shock test.
Okay.
It's just they roll 2 dice if they have to take a battle shock.
That's how I looked at it. But with all the things that people twist with the wording and with the interpretations, somebody out there, I'm sure somebody probably even watching this video is probably going to say, no. If it's a single model, you still have to take a battle shock test. And if you roll high enough, you'll lose that 1 model. I don't agree with that. I agree with you. Okay. So the command ability, Rousing Battlecry. If a general, and that's a pretty, by the way, that piercing battle roar is pretty cool.
It's really good. It's especially good against other elite type of monstrous infantry.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've said enough about that.
Numbers. And just rolling that 1, 5, or 6 can be so detrimental to that unit.
Yeah, let's look at that, and I don't think I addressed that well enough, and I'm glad we're coming back to it, because let's say you didn't do enough damage to that unit to actually, or you didn't even kill off a model, and you didn't cause a battle shock test. Now you have an opportunity to take off those elite multi-wound units, and it's 2 dice, use the highest. So
you've got to trigger the battle shock. So you have to have slain at least 1 guy. But an easy example here is a unit of ogres, right? You slay 1 guy, they're generally leadership 6, somewhere in that range, right? Battle shock 6, bravery 6, sorry. And so it's very easy for them with only 1 slain or something like that, to not lose any additional guys. You roll 2 dice, you throw the distribution curve just all toward them actually losing another model or two. Another model or two is a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, command ability, Rousing Battlecry. Okay, so if the general of the Empire on the Imperial Griffin uses this ability, pick a state, regiment, or knightly order unit, and this is why I also like this ability, because it's either of those two, within 15 inches. Now, it's just one unit, but I like that it could also be used for a knightly order unit. And until the next hero phase, you can add 2 to that unit's bravery. That is not a small deal because you're going to be taking casualties with Empire. Maybe not as much with the knightly order units because they have 2 wounds apiece and pretty good armor. But some of the red state regiment, state regiment, you're going to take some casualties. But here's the thing I like: it's +1 to the charge rolls and hit rolls. This is not a bad command ability.
No, I wouldn't call it amazing, but it's not bad. It's pretty average command ability, and I like the versatility of it. Yes.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to pass Ludwig, Marcus. Let's go to the Grandmaster.
Yeah. So Grandmaster is your old, your cavalry commander, right? This guy's automatically on a warhorse, hence the 10-inch move. Clearly, he's on a big barded warhorse, hence the only 10 inches. That seems to be how they basically represent this stuff. Again, he's armed with this heirloom weapon and shield, giving him sort of a 3-up save, which anytime you can get a 3-up save, I'll take it. That's great. And so basically what this guy does is this lets you get at the old inner circle concept. So if you remember in previous editions, Knights, you had sort of your Imperial Knights, and then you could take one of them and make them inner circle Knights, right? And it used to be a little better than this, but basically you pick them, they're inner circle Knights, and they get 1 additional bravery. Which, hey, okay, that's cool. It's not bad. The command ability is Master of Battle. This one's specifically knightly orders. So as I said, this guy's the cavalry commander. And this one, I like actually a fair amount, in that what you want to do with knights is generally get a charge off, because when we get to the knights, we're going to see that increases their damage. And so this lets them both run and charge as long as they're within 15 inches of him, and it's all knightly order units that are around him. So yeah, that's quite a wide bubble. That's a 30-inch bubble he's broadcasting out totally in toto. So that's pretty decent. Basically, he just increases the move of all your knights by a d6, right? I mean, if you think about it, he's letting you charge 3d6 is effectively kind of what's happening there in total. And I like that.
Oh, I love it. Anytime you could do a run-in charge, a run-in shoot, anytime that's a beautiful thing. And usually it's just a unit. This is, like you said, every unit within range. I think that's phenomenal. Yep. Yeah, I mean, look, you can gauge some of these in certain orders of use, but if you're running a lot of knights, yeah, you want that command ability.
You do have to be a little careful with this guy. He's not super tough. The very last time I fought this guy, my opponent ran him out a little too far, didn't screen him with his other knights, and my Necrosphinx got into him and made short work of this guy. Well,
as with any of these force multiplier type abilities, the Grandmaster should be sitting further back. Now he should not be moving forward. Okay, Demigryph Knights. Okay, I know we're both going to be talking about the Demigryph Knights. I got to say, I think they've kind of dropped a little bit. And I'm not as impressed with how they stack up compared to the previous edition. So they're 4 wounds apiece. They've got a 4+ save, which is, it's not quite as dramatic in terms of their armor as they used to be. They used to have the option for a much better armor save. Yes, they reroll saves because they have their shields. You do have the benefit of the charging lance for add 1 to the wound and damage rolls, which is good if they charged. It's nice to see that the Demigryphs can do some pretty good damage. They get a little nice bump if you roll a 6 on the wound roll. You do die 3 damage instead of 1. I also like this like the standard bearer. I'm not as impressed with this particular one. You're going to see this a lot throughout a lot of these units through a lot of these war scrolls, where the standard bearer, you need to It says here, you only need to take battle shock tests if 2 or more of its models were slain during this turn. Now, this helps the Demigryph Knights because there's a lot of wounds, decent armor, decent save rather. But it's not going to be as profound when we look at other war scrolls. The Hornblower, adds 2 to its charge rolls. That I think is a big deal, and that we see a lot in a lot of these war scrolls. So that helps because they've got a 10 move. But when you roll your 2 die 10 and you're adding 2, that's nice. And they're knightly orders, so they're going to get the benefit of the Grandmaster in terms of movement. I just don't know, and I haven't seen them on the battlefield, so I'm not going from experience. So maybe you can tell me. I don't know if they have the same kind of power and impact that they did in 8th edition compared. What do you think?
They are quite good. What I like about them is a couple things. So strengths and weaknesses. They are quite good. High wounds, very durable. That reroll 1's a big deal. 4 up, you get any kind of additional buff on them. If you ever get them to where they're 3 up and rerolling 1's, which is again not a hard thing to do, suddenly these things are very tough to move at 4 wounds apiece. They can do some. I actually much prefer the lances. I don't know why you would use the halberd. The straight 3 up to wound isn't worth it. I'd take the charge every time just because suddenly going to 2 damage is such a bigger deal than the other one. And the Savage Ferocity is again quite good. Like going to D3 damage. Anything where you start getting damage matters. Like doesn't matter if you hit and wound if you can't rend off their armor and if you can't deal enough damage to actually kill some guys. So those are doing good things. But no, my answer is they are not what they used to be. But I mean, that's a hard comparison. This is probably one of the best units in 8th edition, period.
Yeah.
These guys were easily worth 2 or 3 times their points usually in most games. So, that's just a tough nut to crack. Like you're never going to be that good in this game where everything's much more balanced.
So the stock went down, but they're a little bit more reasonable. They're still very, very powerful.
Yeah. Still good.
Yeah. I do have to say something, and I know that you play base to base. I have played exclusively since the first few games, exclusively model to model. I have to say that it actually isn't that big of a deal. It works just fine. Base to base, model to model, whatever your flavor is, whatever your decision is, however you want to play it, that's fine. I'm trying to go and stay with the base, with the as pure to the rules as possible before I go and institute, any house rules. Now, if you consider that, the lance and sword is 2-inch range, which I think a lot of lances are, and you also have a lance, so the range on these guys I can see being really long. Just in terms of a non-flying unit, you're probably going to get a little more with just the basic way that you model a mounted lance wielding model. You're probably going to get maybe another inch on that as well. So these guys can strike from a good distance too. That extra 2-inch range is not a small deal.
Yeah, all of mine are modeled with the lance pointing straight up in the air.
Oh yeah,
so it wouldn't help me.
That must be hard to. You must have a tall case to put them in then.
Only shelves, big shelves.
Okay. So not big on the transporting then. Okay. Empire Knights.
All right. So Empire Knights. I mean, we're going to see a lot of the same thing because again, we've got it's a lot of the same stuff we just saw. 10-inch move, 2 wounds standard for cav. Base 5 models. That's fine. Lance and sword or cavalry hammer again. So we got the same sort of thing as the last time. Difference being, in this time, the cavalry hammer does go down to a 1-inch range. So there you go. The thing that I find interesting about these is, so first of all, they have a weird setup. So if you look at the way that the description is set up on these, okay, it's lances and swords and shields, okay? Others eschew a shield and prefer to wield cavalry hammers. Now, I understand the intention there. What they're trying to say is, this is bad wording. What they're trying to say is they eschew the shield and also the lance and sword and wield these hammers. Like we can all picture the old wolf knights, right? The Knights of Ulrich or whatever that use the big hammer, the big hammer knights. However, I could easily understand somebody misreading that and saying, oh, the choice is lance, shield, lance and sword attack line and shield, or lance and sword line and cavalry hammer, and I get both.
Really? Somebody trying to twist the words for advantage? I'm shocked.
I know. But it's just terrible wording. The intention seems quite clear to me there, but there we go. Anyway, so I won't linger on that. Same standard bearer stuff, same hornblower stuff we saw previously. Same as the Demigryph on the shields. And they have this nice duty and honor ability, which I think is pretty interesting. So once during the hero phase, they can attempt to fight their way to victory. When they use this ability, you can...
Oh, did we lose you? Oh, I think we lost Vince. Okay, well, until Vince comes back or he unfreezes, he was talking about the knightly ability to reroll hit rolls for them until your next hero phase, duty and honor. So once per battle in your hero phase, this unit can attempt to fight their way to victory. When the knight uses this ability, you can reroll hit rolls for them until your next hero phase. The only downside of that is it's once per battle, but that could be a big deal. That can obviously you save it and you use it when you need. You put it in your back pocket when you actually need it the most. They also get that charging lance +1 to the wound rolls and damage rolls. And for the unit lances and swords if it charged in the same turn. So if you look at that, you're going to have 3 up to hit. 4 ups to hit, but you can get those re-rolls for the duty and honor. And then to wound, you're talking about a 3-up wound or even a 2-up wound for those hammers. I don't know if I'd go for the hammers. I'd probably go for the lance and sword. Also because you get that shield with the re-rolls. I think that's just, there isn't enough benefit to the cavalry hammer to choose that over the lance and sword. So I probably wouldn't have chosen that. If you have a model that has the cavalry hammer, there's certainly these knights are certainly viable. Oh, there, are you back?
Hi, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I went through the whole model before I realized that had happened. So nice.
You were on duty and honor, and go ahead. Why don't you? Let's hear what you would have said.
Sure. So what I said was I like the duty and honor. I think it's a good ability. I think it's neat to have a regular unit that has this once per battle ability. You don't normally see that very often, and I think that's pretty cool. So I think that's great stuff. I think that I like the lance again, bumping up the damage by 1. My big problem with these guys, no rend.
Yeah,
That's a deal breaker for an elite or unit like this.
Yeah. I think these might not be unless you have a particular theme. I first of all, as I was saying while you were away, I wouldn't take the cavalry hammer. There's not enough incentive for the cavalry hammer. At least if the cavalry hammer had a rend, then you would have had an option and a reason why you would take it. Yeah. But the fact that there's no rend at all in the profile, that's a big deal.
Yep.
All right. Reichsguard Knights. So some similarities here. We're looking at a standard bearer with the same ability as we saw in the Hornblower. I want to ask you before I keep going into this, the add 2 to its charge rolls, did we see that with Bretonnia?
No, they have a slightly different thing, but not that exact thing.
Yeah, because it's pretty good. It's basically giving them on charges. They're basically getting what is it, 4 to 14. That's not bad.
It moves your average charge up to a it moves your average, so it's like math. It works out almost the same as Bretonnia's ability. Bretonnia's ability was the trumpeter often or something like that. So you think of the Knights of the Realm, where they roll 3 dice instead of 2. Basically, they have old school Swift Stride. Right. So, mathematically, it works out almost the same.
Okay. Well, the main thing with these Reichsguard Knights is how they kind of match up to named characters. That's really, I think, where they shine, because otherwise they're fairly bland and they really don't stand out against the other knightly orders. But something we'll talk about when we talk about Kurt Helborg or Karl Franz is you get the Emperor's Chosen. You can reroll failed battle shock tests if they're within 30 inches of Kurt Helborg. That's a long way. And they don't need to even take the battle shock if they're within 30 inches of Karl Franz. Also, a very long distance. So nice. Karl Franz or Kurt Helberg, they wouldn't have to use if they were the general. Let's say that standard command ability to make a unit immune to battle shock. This is almost getting it for free, but you have to play with special characters, which most people I know do. If it's an organized event, then they comp that out. Then these guys probably would be one of the first things to go from your options, because I don't think they're worthwhile taking unless you're taking them with one of those two characters.
Agreed.
Okay. Empire Crossbowmen.
Yeah. All right, so Crossbowmen, pretty standard infantry-wise, 5-inch move, garbage save, 5 bravery, all the fun stuff. Crossbow, again, not an incredibly impressive weapon. Probably its best thing is its range. No rend, 4-up, but 20 inches is a pretty decent range. And now we come to the first time, though, where the Crossbowmen are not the best example, but I'll go ahead and call it out. The standard bearer thing is like, whatever, if they roll a 1, nobody flees. That's great, I guess. But the Pipers, we're going to see this a couple times, and I love me some this. So models in this unit may be Pipers once per turn. If an enemy unit ends its charge move within 3 inches of a unit that includes any Pipers, they get to stand and shoot, and each model can then shoot its crossbow at the charging unit. Oh God, this is so good. Yeah. Now, it's going to be even better when we get to handguns, which are just flat out better weapons. But the fact, what you got to keep in mind here is, yes, that means they could. So that means they could stand and shoot against somebody that charges them, certainly. But it doesn't. Unlike old school 8th edition, it doesn't have to be in charge them. Right. They just have to end their charge within 3 inches of your unit, meaning they charge something crossbowman adjacent. And you just turn up and just open up right into the side of that unit. Yeah. And man, that's so good. This is some battlefield control out of these guys.
It reminds me of the Lizardmen. They had an ability like this also with one of their with like the Salamanders, or a version of the Salamander, where you would be good to just put it in between blocks of troops as like a counter to somebody trying to charge in. That's a great ability.
Agreed. And then they have their actual specific abilities, or if they roll a wound of 6, they get a rend of -1. Woo! Yay! 1/6 of your attacks have a rend. That you could just I hate that rule because that's so nothing. You're gonna forget. It needs to be something. That's just so minimal.
It should have been everybody. Yeah, something like that.
They should just either have a rend of -1, or we should forget that ability.
Yeah.
And then reload fire, which is actually pretty decent. Basically, if they've got 20 or more models and didn't move, they get to shoot twice, as long as there's no enemies around. So,
yeah, there's a couple things here that I'm thinking about these guys. That first of all, if there's no enemies around within 3 inches, this is one of those things that kind of neutralizes a lot of the special abilities for shooting units. Having a model within 3 inches is one way to neuter them. Some of those multiple shots that you get for certain sized units. But this unit has it on both sides. On one hand, they lose that double shot, but on the other hand, they get the stand and shoot. So if you're within 3 inches, so you kind of, you get a little bit of something, you get a little bit of something else, depending on the circumstance. It's not quite that bad even though they might not get that extra shooting ability once they get in there, they still make up for it by the fact that they can get the stand and shoot effectively ability if you're within 3 inches, even so.
Yeah, I think these are a great thing to have behind. These are really fun to put, say, a line of 10 of them behind something is going to take a charge. And as the enemy charges and hits your front line, they just shoot them for free right over the top.
Or this is I'm planning on doing a video on this. I know a number of people have. Not a number, a few people have, but we haven't seen this in a while. The formations. You could have a U shape of these Empire crossbowmen and sit a block of troops, other types of troops, in the midst of it, and just have them protected on all sides, and still obviously within 20 inches range to shoot at anything that gets close enough. You don't have to have them as a block unit in between even though these other units. Use the U shape.
Sure.
The cup formation.
Yes, ever popular.
All right, yeah, you already brought it up, but we'll I'm sure we both have a lot of things to say about the Empire Handgunners. Yes, these guys are really good. They have the you have your Imperial handguns, decent range at 16. They do have a rend. Your champion is going to have the is going to be a marksman with 30-inch range. That's always nice, and he can do 2 damage. That's pretty good. You do have the option for repeater handguns, 10 inches. So for that close quarter shooting. Die 3 attacks, not bad. Also a -1 rend. Yeah, they're armed with a dagger, but they probably could have just used the butt of the damn weapon and saved themselves a little space on the war scroll. So let's forget about the standard bearer. We know that's very similar, and it's nothing to really write home about. The pipers, again, same situation. Where we saw with the crossbowmen, unit that charges within 3 and ends within 3 inches of the unit, whether it's them that's charged or anybody else that's within range, they can then get a stand and shoot. Yes, that's fantastic because you got the rend now also that you didn't see with the crossbowmen, and steady aim. +1 to hit for hit to the hit roll for Empire handgunners in your shooting phase, as long as the unit did not move in the preceding phase. And unfortunately, this is if there's no models within 3 inches. So it's going to probably be that stand and shoot ability or the steady aim. But still, you get that +1 to hit. So if they're using the Imperial handguns, it's going to be a 4-up instead of a 5-up. So that's pretty good. Handgun volley, you can add 1 to the hit rolls for Empire handgunners when it shoots in its missile weapons if the unit includes at least 20 models. So here's more incentive to take obviously a larger sized unit, however you formulate them, to get an additional +1. I love this. I love it for obviously the fact that they have rend. They're not quite as long range, but they've got a couple of these abilities that will give you a little bit bonus to hit. Certainly situational where they can get that extra stand and shoot. I think they're just as I think they're actually more effective in some respects than the crossbowmen because of the rend.
They're unbelievably more effective. These guys are sexy all over. Let's return back to our early example. So basically, let's say I've got more than 20 of these guys and I didn't move, which is not. Those are not two difficult things. That's not 30 models. That's 20. And the difference between those two numbers is just titanic. And that means right now I'm on 3-up, 3-up. That's what just happened. Mm-hmm. I went to 3-up, 3-up with a -1 rend. Okay. Now let's bring that general back in. That basic guy. All right. Now I'm on 2-up, 2-up. Okay.
Oh no! Did we lose you again, Vince? Okay. All right, I'm going to keep this line of logic going.
What's that?
We're starting to lose you a little bit. You're stuttering.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me okay now?
Keep going. Keep going.
All right.
You're back.
All right, good. So you take that Empire General. They go 2-up, 2-up, right? Just murder. I watched a unit of Chaos Knights charge near these guys, activate their stand and shoot, and just get vaped. Just cease existing.
Okay, so the combination is the general that enhances your state regiment unit. This is a state regiment unit. All right. You didn't move. So now you have +2. All right. And
you got more than 20 dudes.
And you got more than 20 dudes. Basically is +3.
Yep. Nice. That's right.
Yes.
Nothing like 2-up, 2-up, -1 rend shooters. That's straight murder.
Yeah, that's sweet carnage. Yeah, that'll be a t-shirt.
These guys got so good. I'm glad I happen to have like 40 of those guys just sitting around, so that's handy.
Yeah, and obviously their stock went up from last edition.
It did indeed. Okay.
Empire Archers. 18-inch range, so a little more range than the handgunners. Let's see if they measure up. First of all, Huntsman ability. After setup is complete, you get a bonus move as if they were moving in the movement phase, which means, by the way, you could run them, but that's a bonus move that's not going to hurt you when your actual turn comes up. So if you need to put these guys in a position, it's kind of like a Vanguard type thing. If you want to put them in a position where your opponent really has to take into consideration they might be there but might not realize it, they could probably get into position where they can get a good shot at something that your opponent was not thinking that they would be able to reach. Ordered volleys. You can re-roll hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase. If they have 20 more models, you can re-roll 1s or 2s. And all fail to hit rolls if they have 30 or more. So no rends. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing that they're built around is that free move. So if you really want to kind of try to fake out your opponent and play that, that little chess game, then they're worthwhile. Otherwise, I think I go with the Handgunners.
You guys are garbage. Seriously, I don't know what these have no purpose.
Oh God, I'm glad that I can play middle of the road, try to, put a lipstick on the pig, and you're just going to tell it like it is. I love it.
Correct.
All right,
Rip
great.
your bows off of those troops, put guns in their hands, okay? Look, there's a reason historically why people don't fight with bows anymore. We use guns now.
Go to the
Arrow tells you, the television show, all right, guns win.
Go to the bits pile, get your pistols, get your guns. Yeah. All right. You got it. Great swords.
All right. Empire Greatswords. Yeah, these guys are great. Again, the circle contains a bunch of pretty standard stuff. 5 move, 1 wound. 4 up save. Very good for infantry, especially in the Empire world. They have the old standard old sort of thing with the standard bearer. It's a standard bearer. I do very much like their hornblower because it's a super tactical thing. So this is like the old, basically they have the old detachment rule, right? So if somebody charges, basically it says charge this unit or we're going to countercharge you, right? Which I rather like. And numbers wise, these guys are great. 2 attacks, 4 up, 3 up, neg 1 rend. Beautiful. And if a unit of Empire Greatswords is within 14 inches of a free people hero from your army when they attack, they add 1 to all their hit rolls. So they go 2 attacks on 3 up, neg 1 rend. You mentioned the overlap with Bretonnia. This is one of them because obviously Bretonnia has a bunch of free people heroes as well. Free people has all the Brett people are free peoples as well.
Yeah, it covers both armies.
Yep.
Let me tell you how I'm going to use them, because my Vampire Counts army is very Bretonnian themed, so I can actually do double duty with them. But my Grave Guard are converted. I've got about 20 of them, I think. Converted great weapon wielders, but they're basically dismounted questing knights. Okay. And undead questing knights.
Sure.
But a lot of them have their full helms on. Occasionally have a little bit exposed bone here and there or whatever. But I can proxy this unit to be part of my Bretonnian army as Empire Greatswords, and they get their beautiful ability for the free people's hero within 14 inches to get their extra ability. Now, if you keep them within the Empire army, you're going to get that state regiment bonus for the general that we already talked about as well.
2 up.
Yeah.
Delicious. Because assuming the general's hanging out within that range if he's throwing that buff on him. So, yeah.
2 attacks, -1 rend. Yeah, these guys are awesome. Empire Pistoliers. Okay, these are handgunners on steeds. Let's take a look. We have brace of pistols. There's a couple of interesting rules for the pistols. We'll get to the Reckless Riders. So you can have repeater handguns, 14-inch range. That's nice. Die 3 attacks. These guys have -1 rend, as guns should. And in melee, I don't know if I'd use that cavalry saber. I'd be using that brace of pistols, but let's talk about that. First, Outrider. The leader of this unit is an Outrider, and he has a 6 bravery instead of 5. It says, here's the interesting thing. You can mix and match the way it's read. Some Outriders are armed with a brace of pistols. You can add 1 to the hit rolls for these Outriders, but you may prefer to wield a repeater handgun. Some Outriders go to war equipped with a repeater pistol, which they wield alongside a regular pistol. Others use the cavalry saber for fighting in close quarters. I wouldn't use the cavalry saber, by the way. Obviously, I love the fact that they have 2 wounds like all mounted units do now. Repeater, and not a bad save at 5+, but I can understand why it's a 5+ and not a 4. They're not heavily armed. Okay, repeater pistol. An Outrider equipped with a repeater pistol makes 3 attacks instead of 2 when attacking with his brace of pistols. Now, do you read this as close combat or for range? Because I'm reading this. Both profiles for missile and melee are 2 attacks.
Yeah, it would be both.
Okay, cool. Because that's how I'm looking at it too. Reckless Riders. This is this gives the flavor of this unit. However you feel about this ability. When this unit runs, roll 2 dice, pick the highest instead of rolling a single dice when determining how much extra they move, which is nice. However, when the Pistoliers run, they must run as close as possible towards the nearest visible enemy unit. So you really kind of lose a little bit if you run with these guys, even though you get a little bit of extra bonus on the run. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not. I will say I'm not as much of a fan of these. I don't think they're terrible. They have good rend. They have a lot of attacks. I don't like that 5 up to hit without really much of any ability to modify it.
Well, they are state regiment.
Right. Yeah. So it's within themselves, right? So you can still get all the other bonuses, but yeah, I can do that with handgunners too. And I'll have twice as many if I'm playing under any kind of wound-based comp, right?
True.
And so, you know, I find myself like, they're okay. I think they're a decent run around the side shock troop because the trumpeter lets them sort of shoot and charge, even if they ran, right? So they can sort of do it all. If they've got the trumpeter, they can run, shoot, charge. So that's cool. I like all that. They're really not a very accurate unit. Yes, they are definitely reckless. But I don't, that being said, they're not the hunters or those bowmen we just looked at. I think these guys definitely have a use. They can, because of that run and shoot and charge and blah, 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 and the fact that they can run consistently a higher number because of the reckless rider thing. I think that you can be a little clever with them. I think they need to be way out on the flanks of the battlefield, right? So that even if you're running toward the person, you can still basically control kind of where you're going with them. Because you want them kind of around the side, ready to charge into softer targets. You definitely want to be picking your fights with these guys.
Or if not charging, at least getting within range of their guns to shoot at, say, the targets that like war machines and wizards and other high value targets. The problem is that if your opponent knows his war scrolls, he's going to know that you have to run at the nearest visible unit, so you can get pigeonholed. And I forgot to mention, obviously, the run and shoot, or the run and charge, which is very nice. But if you run, you have to run towards the nearest visible unit. So that kind of limits their capability. If you can find a way around that, then they might be effective. But yes, they're double-edged sword here.
Yeah.
All right, Outriders.
I hate that the champion of the previous unit shares its name with this whole unit. That's another thing that I hate. But okay, so these are the guys. If we remember the old Pistolier, this kit came with both, right? You could build them as Outriders or Pistoliers. This is a beautiful kit still, by the way.
Yeah.
So any modeling fanatics out there, if you like the Empire aesthetic and sort of really cool cavalry guys, just this kit was absolutely fantastic. It's very stylized, very, very cool stuff. All right. Anyways, these guys, obviously what they're packing, right, is that the Outriders themselves are actually armed with repeater handguns, right? So the unit actually has this crazy freaking thing. And my God, their sharpshooter. I hate any champion that needs a paragraph.
Yeah, but he's loaded. He's got a cannon.
Yes, he does. Now, what makes me forgive that paragraph is just basically the end, because it's like blah blah blah, skip ahead, got it, grenade launcher. Anytime I see grenade launcher, I'm gonna go ahead and go for that. Yeah. And so the grenade launcher is quite good at -2 rend and D3 damage. I mean, oh boy. That's just solid. Anytime you're getting that -2 rend kicking and multi-damage, yeah, I'll take that. And what I love about the Outriders compared to the Pistoliers is exactly that thing I had said previously, right? That they do have an ability to take their higher hit number and move it down. And they do that with the expert gunners thing, if they didn't move and there's no enemies around. And honestly, that's not that difficult of a thing to do. at a range of 14 inches and a move of 12, you can often set yourself up to where, yes, this turn you might be taking the penalty, but next turn you might not be, right? Especially if you end up going back-to-back turns kind of situation. So I like the Outriders much better than the Handgunners. And I mean, they're basically the same model, so, there you go.
Yeah, they're not reckless, too. Yeah.
Yes. They don't have as much of the crazy mobility, but I think they're just a better troop overall.
Okay, the Empire State Troopers. There's so much you're gonna see these guys on the battlefield. You have to. I mean, there's some good stuff you can do, not because of what they necessarily have on their war scroll, but what you could do with this war scroll with other things. Okay, so they have a speed. You could use spears with the extra 2-inch range. The halberd is good as an option if you want the extra rend, which is always a good thing. Yeah, we're going to just bypass the standard bearer, go right to the drummer. It's another countercharge ability. I really do like the countercharge. And when you consider the fact that they can get this with these large blocks of spear or halberdier wielding units, that's something to be concerned with, especially when you use this with, for instance, the other units that have the stand and shoot ability. So you could be screening with these, with the stand and shoot, and then get these countercharge abilities with that die 6 unit, a die 6-inch move. There's a lot of setups for traps that you can use with these units in combination. And let's look at the amassed ranks. You add 1 to hit rolls. This is one of those things where I have to say, please, tournament organizers. I mean, for your own personal games, you can just forget the comp or just have that friendly comp, social contract comp. But tournament organizers, look at these war scrolls. Some of these war scrolls are begging you not to limit the wounds. And if you are going to do some wound limits, give some kind of option for people to make sacrifices in order to get the most out of these types of war scrolls, because this unit is begging to take more than 40 models. They add 1 to the hit rolls if there's 20 or more. You add 2 if there's 30 or more, and 3 if there's 40 or more. And what does that mean? It's just like with the zombies in the vampire counts. They're basically 1 up to hit.
Yeah, it's pretty. I have a lot of problems with this war scroll. First, the halberds are the best. I mean,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Rend.
So, which is fine. Everybody probably has their state troops modeled as halberdiers anyway. So
true.
Hey, good to go. Because they can still carry their shields and.
I think we might be losing you again.
Oh, am I still here? Can you hear me? Okay.
You started a little bit. You're back.
Okay. So, like I said, everybody probably has a model as halberdiers, and you get to use your shields on your halberdiers, unlike the old world. So, hey, how about that? That's good. Here's my thing. I think one of the most common things I've seen across comp is ones always miss, right? Or ones always fail, basically, right? Which makes sense. I think just as a sort of good fair play rule, it's a good idea to have that kind of thing in there. Because not having that, things can get shady real fast. The problem with that is, here's this unit with a built-in bonus telling you, hey, it's cool, go to 1-up, auto hit on everything. Right? And that I have an issue with that.
Yeah, it depends. If that's the case, then just don't take 40 over 40. Just take over 30. Sure.
No, absolutely. And that's fair. I wouldn't want to take 40 anyways, because good God, I don't want to move 40 individual tiny halberdiers across the board. Ugh.
Oh, don't give up your moving trays, people.
They're going to get in a fight eventually.
Yeah.
You don't have to take them off that tray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all those models I have on movement trays that used to be, I'm only moving like the monstrous type, the 40 mil and up onto rounds. But your rank and file 20 mil guys, that's just too much work to change to rounds, and frankly, I think they're superior. They're in many ways superior being on those square bases.
Sure.
All right,
but I mean, they're good, decent one-wound troops.
You could take 3 units of these and get that nice bonus from the general.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right, Empire Free Company Militia. That's a $20 handle.
Yeah. Is this one yours? This one yours?
This one, I think, didn't I do Empire State Troops? Oh, no.
I don't know.
Okay, it's me. Okay, so it's all about the reckless mob. these are the guys who are going to be a mishmash of these are like levies. These are like the guys who just grabbed their muskets and grabbed their sabers and ran out. And they're the guys who were put together in hodgepodge groups. So it's a reckless mob. You can reroll hits of 1 for models in this unit in combat. In the combat phase, you can reroll all failed hit rolls if they've got 20 or more. Now, that's a big difference. You don't have to take 30. You don't have to take 40. You just need more than 20 of these guys, and all their hit rolls are re-rolled. But you kind of need that because they're at a 5+ when it comes to missile, and they're at a 4+.
Rerolls on that. That's only combat based.
It's only combat. Well,
always 5/4 with the missile weapon. To me, though, I think the advantage is these guys always have a missile weapon, which is that is the reason why you would ever use these, right?
But they don't have the state militia bonus, so they're not going to get that extra benefit for synergy.
Correct.
That's one thing you do lose with them. And they have a 6+ save, which is not great.
Yeah, you know what I don't like about these guys? I feel this unit translated poorly. So the thing that was always fun about these guys back in, I'm going to say 6th Ed when they were introduced, the Free Company, was that they were the only troops in the Empire that could dual wield, right?
Oh,
that was what made them special. Because they were just a bunch of ragtag idiots running around with like swords and cutlasses. This kit was always used to make wartime warbands, and I would have loved to see 2 attacks on their profile.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
I feel like they didn't do enough of a service to the historical paradigm of this unit.
Yeah, I used some of these bits for some zombie conversions myself.
Oh sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This was a great kit for conversions, no doubt.
Yeah, I still have a big. A whole pile of from the leftovers, and with Mordheim, I'm going to be making some more.
There you go.
All right. Okay, so this one's yours. The Empire Master Engineer. Oh my God, lots of fun with this guy.
Oh yeah, if I would have known this was next, I would have taken the Free Company. All right, no. So the Master Engineer, he has obviously a host of different weapon options. Oh boy, so many weapon options. So you've got obviously the pistols, the trick being if they do that, they get that alongside the repeater handgun or the artisan repeater pistol, right? However, they can instead choose to supplement the pistol with the Hawkland long rifle. So what you're looking at here is this sort of very weird combination of guns where they can either have the pistol, the repeater handgun, or an artisan repeater pistol, right? So you've got either like A and B or C, or A and D. So, and like sometimes you really got to read through these, and then they get the fun pigeon bomb thing. Because everybody can take a pigeon bomb, and if you ever get the chance to take a pigeon bomb, you take a pigeon bomb.
Yeah, because it's just too cool to the idea of an exploding grenade and the shower of feathers.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the range finding options lets them re-roll hit rolls of 1 if they didn't move, like a lot of the other shooters we've seen where they have this kind of if you don't move bonus. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, most notably the big pigeon bomb, where once per battle he can release that pigeon bomb and roll a die, and on a 4 or more. The pigeon goes straight into the enemy unit within 18 inches, and that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 1, it returns to its master, and the engineer suffers D3 mortal wounds. On any other result, it just flies away and explodes. God, I love that rule.
Yeah, it sucks if you're on 1, but...
Hey, whatever. It's like, the Empire Engineer Pigeon Bomb is like a little bit of the Skaven brought up into the Over Empire, so I love it.
At least it's not the 4, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, which we see in something else later on, which I can't stand, which is just a 50-50 shot. This one, at least it's a 4 or more, it works, and on a 1, it works against you.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Let me say, for my money, the action here is actually in the Hawkland long rifle. Yes, you don't have as many attacks, certainly, but the range on that thing and damage too just makes it so good. You can be this dude can be a little character sniper and just be trying to pick off enemy characters or weaken them, just get some wounds on them from just way, way, way far away.
Yeah, and he's a master engineer, and we'll see why that's important later on.
Yes.
Okay. On a mechanical steed. Wow, the clockwork steed. Okay, so a lot of different options too. It's very similar. Certainly, you could have that long rifle as well on him. That's a nice. I like the long rifle. I like just saying Hochland long rifle. Just try to say that one 10 times fast. Okay, rangefinder, similar. It's all about the clockwork steed, the mechanical steed, and the clockwork charge. Because if you roll, if you roll a double when determining the model's charge distance, the mechanical steed barrels forward, demolishing all in its path as the clockwork mechanisms function perfectly. Which, of course, is alluding to the fact that it doesn't often do that. You have to roll doubles, and it's a 2-die-6 move, so you never really know how far it's going to even move, even when you don't charge. So you select a model within a half inch of the Master Engineer after making its charge move. That unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. It's a little bit too random, and the chances are a little too minimum. But I got to tell you, even though I don't like the numbers, I mean, granted, you do have some mobility with the long rifle, and he is a master engineer, which is important though as well. But for a master engineer, as we'll see, you don't really want him flying, moving around. You want him near your important things that you get the synergy with. But it's just the idea of having this kind of mechanical steed. I just want to paint this thing up. But I'm not. I don't really like the rules.
I agree. Despite the awesomeness of this model, I got to give it a pass.
Yeah.
A random possible average 2 inches of movement is not worth losing the pigeon bomb.
Pigeon bomb is better than the mechanical steed. Yeah, I got to agree. Okay. The Empire cannon. Okay, I'm going to zoom this out just a little more because we're going to lose some of the very... Oh, we got to do it a little even more than that. Go for it.
Okay, so cannon. Cannons are still pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 40-inch range. Most notably here, as long as you got at least 3 or 2 crew left, you're getting 2 shots out of this bad boy. 4 up to hit, 2 up to wound, Ren -2, D6 damage. So, I mean, pretty standard. When you look at cannons across the army, I mean, we're deep into this. I know we've seen cannons in other scrolls, and they look a lot like that often. So, and, this thing can walk around if it's crewed. It can grape shot as they could do previously. And the grape shot is really good against a very particular kind of unit. Namely, those things that are like state troops or those other things. There's just like a million of them.
Mm-hmm.
You get a roll at every model in the unit. And on a 6, they just take a mortal wound. So, like, doesn't matter how many of them there are. You just get to roll for everybody. So if there's like 40 dudes charging at you, it's 40 dice, and every 6 is a mortal wound. I mean, it'll shave off, statistically, you shave off a 1/6 of anything you shoot at, right? Unless they have some kind of weird ward save against mortal wounds. But then, most importantly, so this is what you were referencing before. You get to re-roll your failed hit rolls if you've got an engineer near the war machine. It doesn't help grape shot at all, but who cares? 2 shots around at 4 up re-rollable. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a dangerous gun. Cannons were pretty good before. They're pretty good now.
Yeah, even though the grape shot's only 10 inches, it's one of those few, but you see them in most armies, few situations where they try to counter the large units and with some kind of a rule, some kind of a mechanism. We've seen that with some of these units that get an attack on every model in the unit, which just punishes anybody who fields a unit of like 30 or 40 or more. This is one of those situations, but it is situational. You're going to have that large unit come right up to the Empire cannon, and that's not usually where that unit's going to go. Okay, you're going to have a War Machine Hunter type unit, which is typically a fast mover, multi-wound unit, or ambushing type unit that's going to go after a unit like this. So it's not going to come into play as much, unless, of course, your enemy is moving against your lines and gets within that 10 inches. Either way, you cannot say anything bad about shooting twice and then that die 6 wounds with a -2 rend. Yes, I love cannons and I hate them at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay, the Empire Mortar. Now, I don't think the mortar was very good in 8th edition.
I believe the term you're looking for is garbage. It's a
Okay.
French word.
Okay. So it can only go up. So let's take a look. First of all, again, you've got you got a 10 to 30 inch range. Not, again, this is going to be, it's a decent range, but you got a minimum. And anytime you've got a minimum, you got to be concerned. Okay. You've got to definitely decide where to position it and what it's supposed to target against. It's only got a -1 rend and it's only got die 3 damage. So there better be some damn good reason why you take this over a cannon. It's to hit ability is for the mortar shell is based on, what is it? I think it's based on the number of crew members. So
yeah,
it's
something's 2 up to hit. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's not bad.
Very accurate gun.
Yeah, so you got to really thin down the crew to kind of neuter its ability to hit on basically, as a default to hit. Okay, high explosive. The mortar shell hits a unit that is 10 or more models, which is not that hard to get. It's not, you're not talking about just focusing on the really big units. There's plenty of units that are easily 10 or more, even cav units. And it increases its damage to die 6. So that's not bad. I think it's obviously better going after, the really big units, because if it's 20 or more models, it's 2 die 6. That's not bad either. You can roll poorly, but the potential for that is pretty substantial. And then my own recipe. Master engineers are known for their to experiment with black powder. Okay, so a mortar shell has a range of 10 to 40 inches because it can improve the range if there's a human engineer within 1 inch of the war machine. So now you have it at its 10 still minimum, but now you get that extra 10 inches benefit for having a master engineer. It's nice as an option to really kind of just thin out the ranks of these, large units. 20 or more is where it's going to be the most effective.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't think my own recipe is really that good because 40 inches, sure, that's fine and all. But given how fast the battles move in Age of Sigmar, if your enemy's coming for you, they're going to be within 30 inches. Pretty much snap quick. I think that minimum is the real concern, right? Yeah. It's actually pretty easy for something to end up within 10 inches of this thing, unless you're positioned very smartly. Now, your crew can drag it around, which why not?
Yeah, but what about ambushers or lightning strikers?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Or summoning.
Yeah, you don't want Sigmar's ready to ride the lightning right in and shut this thing off.
Right. There you go. I mean, they can still shoot at other things, but you're not going to shoot at that. So, yeah. Here we go. You get the Hellblaster Volley Gun. Okay. Let's see if I can get this positioned out here. Go for it.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here. You get
okay.
It. Yep.
All right, very good. Okay, so yeah, the Hellblaster Volley Gun. Okay, so yeah, this thing's pretty interesting. First of all, I'll just say right up top, it is not as good as it used to be because this thing used to just vape units, right? I mean, that's what it was. But I do have a special place in my heart for this thing because it's funny. All right. So let's look at it. What do we start at? We start at, if we're fully crewed, we got a 3-up, neg 1 damage gun firing at D6 times. So right away, not very impressive for a war machine, right? I mean, you look at that, you're like, I guess that's okay, right? I mean, it's not a lot, and that's not great. You compare that to the two things we just looked at. But if the model's within half range, they go up 1 to hit, which is good. Okay. And then what I like is the whole Hellblaster Volley. This is pretty funny. So you get to choose how many gun decks you want to fire, right? And so if you choose 1, you do the D6. If you do 2, you do 2d6 attacks. If you do 3, you get 3d6 attacks. However, if you roll any doubles, the Hellblaster Volley Gun jams and no shots are fired this phase, right? And if you've got a master engineer around it, he can let you re-roll your d6s to try to prevent jamming. So I first of all, let me say 2 things here. I think that if you use the 3 decks and you don't have an engineer, it's going to jam way more often than you think it will. Like, your chance of getting add double is actually pretty good. with the engineer, this gun becomes okay. I'm still not super impressed by it. I mean, it is only a 2-up to hit. It's decent, but it's certainly a shadow.
I think we might have lost you again, Vince. Okay, let me until you jump back in, just let us know.
Can you hear me
okay, cool. Yep, you're back. Good.
All right. I think it's good. It's just a shadow of its former self. I'm not sure where I left off, but there you go.
Okay, I only have one thing to say. Oh, actually, I have two. Excuse me. First of all, lots of text. Anything time you have lots of text, you better know your damn war scroll because it's just gonna slow the game down. I hate when there's too many rules. Okay, there's too much here to read. And again, I'm sure that if this is your army, you're going to know your rules. But this is something that just weirds me out. 26-inch range? Where did they get the 26-inch number? I mean, why 26? I know I'm nitpicking, but 20-inch, 25, 30, but why 26? Is there something about the Hellblaster? Is there some combination of the barrels or something that I'm missing?
It's based on Skaven technology.
Well, I'm just thinking, is there 13 barrels or something like that? I don't know. Maybe somebody can post. It's also the volley shots target units within 13 inches. There's something about there's something Skaven-y about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
My advice is, if you remember, this thing was a multi-kit with the Hellstorm rocket battery, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was like very easily magnetizable, like super easy magnetizable. It was just most people didn't have a reason to do so because why would you ever use the garbage rocket storm battery in the previous edition? Let me tell you what, folks, get the crafting knives ready to pop that bad boy off and bring in the rocket battery.
Yeah,
right, man, it's all you.
Don't even. Well, we're both going to be talking about this, of course.
Sure.
Don't even bother with the magnetizing. You can use the glue now, okay? Because the Hellstorm rocket is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. All right, it's got a minimum range 10 inches. Let's get past that. It's got a -2 rend. Damage starts off at die 6. That's great, but it's 3 attacks. But remember that it's 3 attacks. We'll get back to that, okay? The artillery crew, very similar to what we've seen before. It is indirect fire insofar as you don't have to see what you're shooting at. So that 36-inch range, a unit hiding behind the hill, a character hiding behind the hill, anybody who's trying to hide is not going to be able to hide. You don't have to see to shoot, and it's 36 inches. So that wizard that has been casting spells outside of your range to unbind is going to get wiped off the map because it's 3 attacks, die 6 wounds, okay? -2 rend, all good stuff. And then you have the rocket salvo. Okay, so let's read that. Before firing their war machine, the Hellstorm rocket battery crew can choose to fire all of their rocket salvos at the same target. Which why wouldn't you want to do that? Especially if it's characters or monsters. If they do, you can add 1 to the hit rolls for the shots. So yeah, it's a 5-ups to hit, but now you get a +1 because you're going to shoot it. Of course, you're going to shoot it all at one target. Why not? And then I love the name. I meant to hit that one. Honest. So your master engineer can choose. It says if there's a master engineer from your army within 1 inch of this war machine and you fail to hit, the Hellstorm rocket salvo may pick a different unit within 10 inches of the original target and roll a dice. On a 6, it shoots that unit instead. So go for it. Let's hear what you think about this.
I love it. Obviously, I always shoot at the same target. I mean, my God, fear of the day, these all hit the same thing, right? Where you get 3 hits. And you land this 3d6 damage, rend -2 thing. This is just like, this is a monster killer, a character killer. This thing is just deadly.
And you can't hide from it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I love the hell out of this thing. It is the Hellstorm, and it's great. It lives up to its name. So dangerous. So and even if God, there's so many ways you can play with the conversion of it too. All right, but yeah, but it's still a pretty model that sucked before or wasn't worthwhile necessarily. Now it sure as hell is. Yep. All right, you get the steam tank. Oh boy. All right, the steam tank. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Not as good as it was. Yeah. There you go. All right. Still pretty good. So we have two, basically, let's just ignore the repeater handgun, hawk, and long rifle garbage, because that doesn't matter. It's a monster with 12 wounds now. It says War Machine, but it's a monster because it's got the monster table and all that kind of thing, right? That's just the guy inside, and really, it's going to end up pretty irrelevant. What? Because you got one shot. The guy, what we're concerned about here is the steam cannon and the steam gun, right? That's the action I bought this thing for. The range on the steam cannon is okay, but it's going to drop precipitously as you get wounded, like to the point where it becomes unusable very quickly. You can very often have no targets within range. The target you want isn't within range. That being said, it is firing a full-fledged cannon, right? 4 up, 2 up, -2 D6. It's a real cannon. You just can't get the old double shots. And then the steam gun itself, I actually quite a bit like, because when this thing is undamaged, it hits pretty darn hard. 2d6 attacks, wounding on a 2 up. I like that. Great for clearing small, lightly armored units, right? So I like that it has a nice combination in its guns between something that really wrecks hard targets and something that clears out soft targets, right? And so I think that's a good. I think that's a good combo. The bouncing cannonballs thing is also pretty nice because it does move up to hit if the thing's got 10 or more models in the target. Solid. It's got impact hits, but they're a long way away from the old impact hits that this thing used to be able to cause. Yeah, and it's little like
still mortal wounds. Yeah.
Its grinding damage thing is pretty good because it's got Ren Neg 1 and damage 2. So again, even in melee, this thing certainly isn't bad. It is a big monster. Now, it doesn't have. This is obviously a ranged monster, right? If you compared this to most of the other monsters we've seen, its melee attacks. The steam tank's melee attacks certainly don't live up to like that Griffin we saw earlier, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Right. The interesting things come in the more pressure and the all fix it. So in the more pressure, basically he can overpressurize the boiler. If you do, you roll 2 dice. If it's more than the number of wounds remaining, bad things happen and the thing suffers D3 mortal wounds. Otherwise, until your next hero phase, you can reroll any random values for this model, with the exception of the commander's repeater handgun, which isn't related there. So basically, you can reroll the move distance of it, you can reroll the steam gun's number of attacks, and you can reroll the crushing wheels and ironclad bulk's number of attacks, which is pretty good. Obviously, this is an auto if this thing's barely wounded, right? If it's taken like 0, 1, or 2 wounds, yeah, absolutely. Just crank that more pressure. And then once you start to get wounded, obviously, you're going to get right on all fix it, where every round you get a roll of die, and on a 4 up, it gains a wound back. So that's kind of nice. It's got some self-healing ability there. And there's really not much tension between those two. Like, when you would do both is fairly obvious, right? Like, once you get down below, once you've taken more than 3 or 4 wounds, you just start using all fix it automatically.
Its stock has gone down a little bit from how great it was in 8th edition, but I don't think it's bad. I definitely think it's includable. And I'm sure that there's many more than 10 or 12 of them that there were in the entirety of the Empire now in Age of Sigmar. So now you can have as many of them as you want. They're cranking them out.
No, there's still only 12.
No, really? Does it say that?
That's all. No, I'm just, who knows? I'm just saying that.
No, in the eons that have passed, I'm sure they've made plenty of them.
I think they were building steam tanks. I think they were focusing their efforts on Stormcast. I don't know if they were building more steam tanks.
I don't know. We're going to see something completely different. Yes, when we see something for the free people coming out. But yeah, steam tanks are definitely worth taking. Yeah, they're just not as dominant. But I do like it. They're a lot of all around. They have a lot of all around good things for various.
It's a very tough ranged monster.
Yeah. Well, it's still got 12 wounds and a 3-up save.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We're not going to talk about Volkmar. Let's talk about the War Altar. That's a lot of text. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So it's a monster. You're going to see this with the Luminarch, and, we're going to see this with all these other. They're now just monster machines with some ranged attacks and interesting abilities. I like these for different reasons. I like them in different orders. but I do like what they did with them. So it's 11 wounds. So it's not quite the monster level, but it's still beefy, 4-up save, Light of Banishment, 20-inch range, die 3 attack, so you never really know what you're going to get there. 3 damage, though, and a -1 rend. Starts off with a 2-up to wound. So let's go look a little bit further down. First of all, you don't know if you're going to... You may not have Volkmar the Grim commanding it, so you do get some bonuses if he is commanding it. We'll talk about that more in another video. The Divine Power, it can unbind 1 spell, so it counts as a wizard. That's nice. It starts out at a 10 move, so you're going to be able to bind. If Volkmar is on it, yes, he can unbind 2 spells. The Horror of Sigmund, I hope I pronounced that right. So that's a once per battle ability, and you can blow that. So all enemy units within 10 inches, enemy units now are subtract 1 from their bravery until the end of the next phase. Okay, not great, but that could matter, especially when it comes to battle shock and elite units with multiple wounds. You could definitely, shave off some extra units with that, some extra models with that. Definitely usable. I like it. It might not come into play, but it sure could. Sigmar's Shield. This I like. You can roll a dice each time a Free People's model from your army is slain within range. So it's shown on the damage table. So I believe that's 15 inches it starts off, and then it really drops by 3 for every wound level on the chart. And on a 6, it's like that 6-up ward. It gets saved. So multiple wound attacks that kill that unit are going to get ignored, whether it's 1 or whether it's 6. What I like about this is another one of those things that's good synergy with Bretonnians, because it says Free Peoples. It's not just the Empire army. So if you have an Empire army, a Bretonnian army, and you want to take a war altar, or any of these other War Machine monsters, as we'll see, if they have the ability for Free Peoples, it's going to work with the Bretonnians. And anything, in my opinion, that works with the Bretonnians is a nice thing. The next thing is the Power of Faith. Free People units from your army do not need to take battle shock test if they are within 10 inches of a war altar. That's great. All right, take a couple of Knightly Order units, stick them within 10 inches, or a couple of big blocks of units that are going to get mowed down because they have little armor, and they're just they're just large numbers. They're going to take casualties, but if they've got 1 guy within 10 inches of the war altar, immune to battle shock, no battle shock tests. I like that a lot, especially that 20-inch wide range that they're obviously going to convey that power to. And yes, again, that'll work with Bretonnians. Light of Banishment. Okay, so this is really bad against Chaos and even worse against Chaos Demons. So you make a Light of Banishment attack against a Chaos unit, you double the wounds, so now 6 wounds because the base is 3. And if it's Chaos... There's a little bit of a typo here. It's a rend of -2. It says instead of a dash, but if you look up, the Line of Banishment is -1. So essentially what it means is you just get an extra rend of 1 because it obviously its base is a -1. And we keep going. Battle Prayers. On a 1 or 2, you get to roll and see what kind of prayer you want. If there's an Archlector or if there's Volkmar on it, you can pray to Sigmar. So you can pick either a unit within 10 inches. Now, this could be an enemy unit or it can be a friendly unit, depending on which one you want to pick. So I think Soulfire is against enemy units. So you pick an enemy unit within 3 inches of you, and on a 4 or more, it's struck by Soulfire and it suffers a mortal wound. Not a big deal, but I'll take it. Righteous Fury. This is until your next hero phase, you can reroll failed to hit rolls for the unit that's in the combat phase. I like that one. And then Holy Fervor. Until your next hero phase, you can add 1 to the unit's run rolls, charge rolls, and hit rolls in the combat phase. I like that one too. All right. So yes, you can pick these. You just have to roll and see if they actually answer you. It's on a 1 or 2, they go unanswered. On a 3 or more, you've been heard. And if the War Altar is commanded by Volkmar, yes, we won't even talk about that. He has the ability to heal 1 wound in each of your hero phases if he's on that. But I mentioned it. We'll be mentioning it again when we talk about the heroes of the Empire. There's a lot here going on. Obviously, there's melee weapons involved as well. There's a lot of things that I think enhance the army. All right. Plus, you get a nice little Light of Banishment ability within shooting within 20 inches. Yeah, why not? Take it.
Absolutely. No, I like this thing a lot. Good utility. That Light of Banishment is crushing. the reality is that thing could easily, like, not easily, but it's not that far outside the box mathematically to deal 18 damage to a Chaos Demon unit when that thing shoots. That's no joke. 18 damage is a lot of damage on a -2 rend. So, yeah.
Take it against Chaos, take it against Chaos Demons. Absolutely.
If you're playing a pool choice comp, it's probably worth having in there.
Yeah, I like that Power of Faith. That's great. All right. The Warrior Priest. Wow, we're really moving down here.
All right. So the Warrior Priest. Obviously, he's, again, pretty standard sort of hero-level dude. Now, what I find interesting about this Warrior Priest is a little thing. Well, let me see this. Can you guess what I find particularly interesting about this guy?
Does it have to do with double hammers versus hammer and shield?
It does not.
No? Okay. What is it?
It is in his keywords.
Celestial.
That's correct. Yeah, you got it. Exactly. He has the Celestial keyword. You don't see that a lot throughout the Empire.
You give me enough tries and I'll get it.
There you go. Yeah, he has the Celestial keyword, which is obviously what's stamped on all of the Stormcast, right? They're all Celestial. So I think that's just an interesting little note for when you're thinking about sort of army, thematic army constructions. And we've seen pictures of these guys marching alongside the Stormcast. So, I mean, some of the state troops might not fit in too well with the new aesthetic, but I think these guys are best friends with the new aesthetic. So yes, they can go for the Warhammer shield, they can go for the Warhammer, or they can go for the big hammer. Yeah, that's fine. These guys are not combat monsters, right? But that's okay. That's not why you take them. If you take the double weapons, pretty standard. They can reroll hit rolls of 1, like most double weapon wielders. Take the shield, they go up to a 3+ save. Quite good. They're unbinders, which I like. So that's always nice. And then obviously the battle prayers is where they really make their money back. Where they roll a die, just like with the War Altar. If you get a 3-up, their prayers are heard. The Shield of Faith gives them basically a 6-up ward save. Pretty solid. Hammer of Sigmar lets them reroll failed wound rolls for the unit, and Healing Hands restores D3 wounds. Those are all good options. Any ability to move the number of wounds away, like any healing, is generally to be regarded as pretty decent. Especially in armies that don't just suddenly come back like undead. So any kind of healing where you can start repairing things, it's pretty solid. And it's also funny to think of this guy praying and healing a steam tank.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
Yeah. Die 3 wounds, healing on any of your big stuff. Obviously, you're not going to be removing slain people. I mean, slain 1 models. But it would be a waste in that regard. But you would definitely put it on, multiple wound units. But healing the steam tank with prayer, yes. Or a Luminarch, or a War Altar. Okay, the Witch Hunter. I love the Witch Hunter. I'm not so sure how much I love it in this game, but I love the idea of the Witch Hunter, the look of the Witch Hunter. Let's see how it stacks up in Age of Sigmar, though. Okay, so he's got his Baroque pistol, 9 inches. It's got a rend. Anything with a rend is good. He could use a silver greatsword or a rapier. Go with silver greatsword, everyone. Just go. It's rend. It's also silver. I know you like the rapier, but go with the silver greatsword. So if he's equipped with 2 Baroque pistols, though, he can make 2 attacks in the shooting phase. You roll a die roll a dice if a Witch Hunter is targeted by a spell on a 5 or more. You say, I'm not going to take that. He basically has a 5-up ward against magic, so that's nice. But it may affect other units normally. That's if it's an area effect type of thing. Sigmar's Judgment. A Witch Hunter attack inflicts die 3 damage instead of 1 if it's a wizard or a demon. Okay, great. That's nice. He's got that demon hunter, wizard hunter thing still applied. I think I liked him better in 8th edition, but I still would, in certain situations, I still would take a Witch Hunter in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I miss the old killing blow type of ability.
Yeah.
Because the image in my head was always, if you ever watched Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, there's a scene where Tybalt.
Oh no! Poor time to cut out.
Takes out his and then just go for that killing blow. Maybe that's just in my head.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. I think your Witch Hunter is still worthwhile, but not going to be as cool, I guess, as it used to be.
Yes. Also Celestial, by the way.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that either. Oh well, here's another unit that's Celestial.
Yeah, the Flagellants.
And you get them, and I will say this. I'm just going to say this. I think these are like the witch elves of the friggin' Empire.
Okay. All right. So what's good about them? All right. Well, there are interesting things and there are dangerous things about these guys, right? They move faster than most of the other Empire troops, move a 6. Their bravery is much higher than the other Empire troops. However, let me just say right away, I hate that these guys have a bravery. They just shouldn't have. It should be like bravery and then the little infinity symbol or whatever. Like it should never be a thing. These guys should not flee ever. Okay. So, but that being said, let's move on. They make 2 attacks. Base rolls 2 attacks, 5 up, 4 up, no rend, 1 damage. Not impressive so far. However, they go to 3 attacks if any models in their unit have been slain. And if 5 or more models have been slain, then instead they make 4 attacks.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
And their Fanatical Fury, you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 if they charged. Okay, that's fine. That ups their accuracy a little. So, and then they have each time a Flagellant flees, select an enemy unit within 6 inches and roll a die. On a 4 or more, that unit suffers a mortal wound before that foe can slay the frenzied Flagellant. Yeah, that's a pretty decent automatic mortal wound thing. I think the similar rule in Chaos, because I think there's some Chaos guys that have the same ability, is like only on a 6 they cause the mortal wound. So, you know, that's good, I guess, like having it happen on a 4-up. And the flavor text on if there's no enemy within 6 inches, they instead bash themselves to death with their own flail and are removed from play. Okay, I get it. In the Reckless Abandon, we've captured the fact that these guys never flee. So, yeah, I get it narratively. I just wish that whole paragraph wasn't there, and they were just immune to battle shock, and that was represented in some other way.
Well, they needed a profile value. I mean, it probably should have been a little higher, but they needed a profile value for things like scream attacks and things that attack, bravery for damage.
Sure, it at least should be 10 then, like the undead.
Yeah, I agree. It should have been 10.
Yeah.
But I still like it, and I love how they get to the 4 attacks.
Sure.
Each.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what's interesting about them is, so just to hit on 2 quick things. What's interesting about them tactically is you want to charge, but you also do not want to pick them to fight in their fight first, right? So it's very unusual. Normally, you always want to be the one attacking first. If it's just 2 units hitting each other across the battlefield, and you got multiple one-on-one engagements, you generally want to not. This is a great unit because you can pick your other higher value units that need to attack first and still feel good about that. Right? Now,
yeah.
The other thing I would say is save of dash, right? In other words, no save. So the critical piece about save of dash mark of nil is that it can never be improved.
Yeah.
By any means. If these guys walk on cover, get Mystic Shield, it's irrelevant. Their save is non-existent.
Now, they're free peoples. So if there's a war altar within 10 inches,
then they become immune to battle shock and they can't use their special ability.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would rather they use their special ability.
Right. I mean, that's just it. Like, they don't synergize well with the other things we just saw. Like, they have fun stuff, but they also make me angry. I feel like this could have been designed better with better synergy.
I can see your point. I still love I think they're better than they used to be. Sure. I think they're more effective than they used to be. I think they're fun to put on the battlefield, and the idea of what they do and the fact that they can be effective. And because look, they're only 5 up to hit, but still, they're easily going to get to those 4 attacks if they get targeted in any way.
Oh,
5 or more models is not.
Loads, yeah.
Yeah, 5 models is easy. Shooting. They may some reckless opponent decides to shoot at them. That's a mistake, man.
I still would have rather seen them have a 3 up to wound or something like that.
Yeah, well, I get your point. I will say this: if they get into combat and they start losing, if they start battle shock affects them and they start fleeing, that you pick an enemy unit within 6 inches, you pick a hero, you pick a character, you pick a monster. Right. That's what you want to do with that. Target that, and that's where those and it's every one that you lose, everyone that flees. You then roll on a 4 or more. They'll take a mortal wound. That could be pretty. They're going to die in droves, so you're going to be rolling that a lot. All right, I got to zoom out again for the friggin' Celestial Hurricanum. Oh my God, too much text, but still, it's the Celestial Hurricanum, or as otherwise known, the bits package to make the Celestial Prime.
Sure.
Okay, so we have the Storm of Shemtek, 18 inches, lots of C belows. So numbers of attack. It starts at 3. It'll diminish. It's got the monster profile again. And big shock. It's also celestial. It's the Celestial Hurricanum.
Weird.
Yeah, strange. I don't know why. Okay, so we'll go right into it. It's tended by Celestial Wizards. You add +1/+2 rolls for order wizards that are within 10 inches. Casting rolls, that's good. I like that. Portents of battle, so that's within 10 inches. You can add 1 to the hit rolls of any free peoples from your army within that range, and that diminishes as it gets wounded. Yeah, I'll take more of that too. Again, that's Empire and that's Bretonnia. Okay. And it says says any hit rolls from free peoples from your army within range of any Celestial Hurricanum portents of the battle ability when they attack. The range of this ability is shown in the damage. Okay, so that I already said that. The Storm of Shemtek. So that's again 18 inches. You roll. It's on a 1 to 3. It's an Ice Shard Tempest. So they suffer a mortal wound within that 18 inches. On a 4 to 5, they suffer die 3 mortal wounds of the Lightning Strike. On a 6, it's a Meteor Strike, and they suffer die 6 mortal wounds. And let's also remember, starts out with 3 attacks. So we are talking about 3 attacks. You may not always roll that 6, but you're probably going to be rolling some combination of them. So let's just say the law of averages, you're going to get 3 die 3 mortal wounds within 18 inches. Not bad. It can cast a spell. The Comet, in addition to Mystic Shield, Arcane Boat, you've got the Comet of Casadora. I don't like the Comet at all. All right, this is another one of those things where you roll on a 1 to 3, it's good. On a 4 to 6, it's bad. It's just you basically trade. On 1 to 3 or 4 to 6, you or your opponent decides who gets hit. Now, if I'm going to cast a spell, even with only a casting value of 6. I don't have to decide whether or not my opponent gets the benefit of it or I, because it's die 6 mortal wounds, and if it rolls against me, it could be really, really bad. This is why when I modeled the what was it again? I didn't take the Blood Vulture on the Thunder Tusk because it has that same thing. Even though I'd love to have had the Blood Vulture on the Thunder Tusk, I told my son, "Yeah, you want the Blood Vulture?" He said, "No, I want the crossbow." I was like, "Good boy."
Well, let me just interject here real quick. You read this wrong.
Did I?
It doesn't work like you think it works.
Okay, tell me how it is so I can brush up on my reading comp in the meantime.
All right, here we go. So the Comet of Casadora works like this. Casting value of 6, super achievable, being that actually is a 5, because the guy on top is an Order Wizard. Okay? So, and he gets the benefit of his own Locus of Azir. If successful, you pick a unit within 18 inches of the caster. So you're going to pick an enemy unit. You can pick any unit. You're going to pick an enemy unit, right? Your opponent must then select one of his units that is within 18 inches of the caster. And it can be the same one as you choose, but it doesn't have to be. In other words, it's just picking 2 different enemy units.
It could be the lesser of 2 evils, yes.
Right, so, I mean, yeah, he might pick a suboptimal unit, that is to say, not the thing you'd want. So, yes, in that regard, you've got a 50-50 shot to hit, not maybe your optimal target, but you're only hitting the enemy. It's never coming back on you.
Okay, good. Well, it's a good thing that you're here to help me with my interpretation.
Yeah, at worst, 50% of the time on an easy-to-cast spell, super easy, you dealt D6 mortal wounds to a lower value target.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that.
You can take my die 6 zombies. Okay, good. I like that.
Exactly. I wanted to get your Black Knights. Instead, I just blew D6 zombies off the table. All right.
Still worthwhile. Okay.
I'll take it.
All right.
Yeah.
So yes, and it's celestial, and it's got a wizard. Why wouldn't you take it with a wizard? All right. You get the Empire. Oh, you get the long one. We're gonna be here for a while. The Empire Battle Wizard.
Oh my God. Oh, good Lord.
Lots of text. Oh, look at that. I'm all the way zoomed out. Wait, let's go a little more. Hold on. Get your. Oh wait, that's a little too much.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh
wait.
boy.
I gotta go back in. Where was I?
You're like on the like one of the last pages or near.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Empire Battle Wizard. All right. He's a caster. He has I mean, obviously, why this guy is so ridiculous, right? Is because there are 8 different schools of magic in the Empire, and this gives you all 8, right? Yeah. I mean, that's clearly what we're going for. Yes.
Sure. I'm just concerned whether or not you have to pick it, like in a tournament setting. Would you have to pick it before you go into the tournament, or could you pick it game to game? Because that could be a big difference.
I think you would pick it game to game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you would announce his specialization. No, I mean, whatever.
Okay.
I think obviously you're not changing in the middle of the game, right? It's set.
No, not in the middle of the game. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yes, it does say it. It says when setting up this model. Oh, so yes, you can customize it depending on who you're up against. Go ahead.
There you go. Okay, cool. All right. So, let's just go through them quickly. All right. So our Heavens guy gets Chain Lightning. So casting value of 6, visible enemy unit within 18 inches, D3 mortal wounds. Then roll a die for every other enemy unit within 6 inches. On a 6, it leaps and they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Okay. Well, what's your vote on that one?
Let's
go 1 to 10 on all of these. Here you go. Chain Lightning, give me a 1 to 10.
Let's see. Okay, so it's a casting value of 6. Pretty easy. It's going to be a 5 probably because you're going to have something in there that's going to get a +1. It's got to be visible. The unit suffers die 3. Anytime mortal wounds is there, I'm good. Okay, so just that alone I think is good. Die 3 to mortal wounds, 18 inches. I'm fine with that. It's an easy casting mortal wounds. Is it great? No, but it's good. It's really good. Then you roll a die for each enemy unit within 6 inches, and on a 6, it leaps and does another die 3 to that. Yeah, I'd put that up in the high rank. I mean, you've got this explosion of mortal wounds. I don't think it's that bad, especially because it's easy to cast.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 5 because it's basically an arcane bolt that can kind of be better sometimes.
Well, what's the casting value of arcane bolt?
5, right?
5. Okay. Yeah, so it's a little. It's one worse to get the chance of a leap.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So solid average performance for me. I'd probably make the choice to do it most all the time. All right. Fireball. So basically, lower casting value 5, 18 inches again, and this time what you're paying for is the difference for it's an arcane bolt that can vary its mortal wounds. A third of the time it's 1, a third of the time it's an arcane bolt, a third of the time it's D6 mortal wounds. Whatever you'd rate arcane bolt, this is the same spell. This is flip a coin arcane bolt, whatever.
Yeah.
Really not super impressive. What is that? What you concur?
I concur. I think it just complicates arcane bolt.
Agreed. Yeah, that's such a good way to pick it. All right, Soul Steel, everybody's old favorite from the Death Casters in the previous one. So this is your Amethyst Wizard. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inches. You both roll a die. You both add your bravery. It feels very much like the old version of the spell here, right? And then the unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference. Again, feels pretty similar. The Empire Battle Wizard's bravery is not amazing, so take that into account.
Yeah. So
the die is doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, it's a little too random.
Yeah, I give this one a solid 3, just because there is way too much leader or bravery 10 in this game. Like all the stuff that Order wants to fight is running around bravery 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it. Don't use it against lizard men. Yes, right.
Yeah. just so much bravery 10, and wherein this spell becomes useless. So that's a solid like 3 at best. Great at killing Skaven slaves. Yoo-hoo! All right, everything's great at killing Skaven slaves. That's the point. Okay, light of battle. Super low casting value at 4. Pick a unit within 18 inches. That unit doesn't take battle shock tests until your next hero phase. In addition, okay, any other nearby allies, basically within 6 inches, gain 1 to their bravery. Are you joking me? This is like,
I wouldn't. Yeah.
No, this one's so good. This is amazing.
You really?
Yes, this one's ridiculous.
Okay, tell me why.
All right, this is the command ability of your general. Right?
So,
I mean, that's what it is, yeah?
Okay.
It's inspiring presence. The problem with the command ability of your general is that it has a huge opportunity cost. Because by using the thing that makes a unit immune to battle shock, you can't use his other abilities, right? But we all know battle shock is the killer, yeah? Especially for big units.
Yep.
Okay. And what does the Empire have? A ton of big units.
Yep.
Okay. So 1, this could let you double up on that, right? When you combine that with the War Altar wheeling its way around the battlefield, the whole Empire army can very quickly become immune to battle shock, which is a frightening proposition for your enemy when they've got to grind through halberdiers, right? Okay. 2, this thing has a joke casting value. It's basically automatic, right? And because it's cast on an ally, your wizard can be way behind the line, just way out of unbind range, just dropping this command ability effectively, automatically on the unit he needs to be on. Just saying that unit that's going to engage and is big, no more battle shock for them. And tangentially, everybody around it can get some bravery too. Who gives a hoot? It's the fact that you can basically auto duplicate the general's command ability, and it's set up in such a way that you can basically do it in a way that risks no unbinding.
Okay, you've got some good points. I do agree with you. Here's my viewpoint. Yes, if you have a better command ability, this is a way to get effectively the same or similar or even better without having to waste the command ability. Then you can use the command ability on the profile of the general instead. But that's not how I view it. I view it as I'm probably going to have a War Altar. I'm probably going to have half the battlefield immune to battle shock already. And this is a spell that can be unbound. Yes, you can have that sitting back in the backfield out of the range of unbinding. Absolutely. But there's still the potential to unbind it. Yes, the casting value is a joke. But, I've rolled poorly on casting. I've rolled snake eyes on casting. Yeah, that's a real long shot. It's probably going to go off. I get it. But I'd rather cast other things. I think there's other ways that you can get the immunity to battle shock or the benefits of battle shock without having to waste a spell. There's other better spells. The things like even just an arcane bolt or throwing a mystic shield up on a unit that's 3-up that make it a 2-up or even better. Not to say this is bad. I just think that there's because it's a backup if you want to use the command ability of your general. That's really what it effectively is.
Yeah, I'd give this one a solid 8. I love it.
I'd go with a 5 or 6, maybe a 6, maybe a 6.
Fair enough. All right, viewers, you decide.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
Clearly. I haven't played against it, so you have, and if their combination has been that effective, you know better than I.
I just know when units go immune to battle shock, you're in a bad way if you're not also immune to battle shock, right? Like that means you lose that fight, like almost immediately. That's going to be the end of that. Not every time, but often. All right.
Good point.
Final trans. Boy, is this not as good as it was.
No, it's not. This one sucked. This is a 1.
Yeah. All right. So you pick a unit. The casting value is 6. Fine, I guess. Single unit within 18 inches. Your opponent picks a model in that unit, rolls a die. If it's more than that model's remaining number of wounds, it's transformed into a gleaming golden statue and slain. Okay. How did final trans work before? Well, on characters, it only transformed them into a statue. Multi-wound models, I should say. It only transformed them into a statue on a roll of 6, right? And so if you think about generals normally have 5 wounds, or, that is to say heroes normally have 5 wounds, that math is preserved, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The trick is that you don't get the rest of the unit. You
Yeah.
have to be like, you'd get the unit and the guy. I mean, obviously, you're just going to sit around. This spell's a 4/3. I mean, you're going to just throw it at characters and hope for they roll a 6. That's all this thing is for.
That's it. But the thing is, your opponent gets to pick the model. So
you're going to pick You're going to pick single model units. Right?
Yeah. So you have to choose between which characters you want to risk. So yes, that's certainly a risk. And if there's only one, there's no choice. Well, yes, and then you pick a model in a one wound model in a unit. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I say a 1.
Yeah, it's at best okay against a very particular type of sort of medium wound monstrous infantry with like 3 or 4 wounds where there's only like 3 of them in the unit. You got a 50-50 shot-ish of killing them.
But
right?
I wouldn't take gold specialization to get that. No,
exactly. Yeah, it's questionable at best. That's why I gave it that's why I said 4, because it does have a few uses, but yeah, that's underwhelming. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, big time neutered, big time nerfed.
Mystifying Miasma, casting value of 6, 18 inches, -1 to hit. Yep, great, fantastic, solid 7. Like neg 1s to hit are good.
Oh, anytime you can subtract to hit rolls. There's very few cases of that.
Yeah.
Nurgle. Go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, for the reasons you just said. Negatives are rare. Negatives are good, right? I mean, duh. Yep. So wild form, pick a unit on a 6. They get 1 to all wound rolls. Okay, that's cool. I mean, it's good. Again, 5/6. It's pretty average. Not terrible, certainly, right?
Doesn't suck.
Doesn't suck. Yeah, that's that's right. And then Life Bloom. I actually really like Life Bloom quite a bit. So it's a healing spell. D3 wounds back to the unit. In addition, basically grants them a 6-up ward against until your next hero phase against wounds and mortal wounds. I think this is probably one of the best in the bunch. It's right up there with Miasma because it's useful in any game, right? Like you're going to take wounds, promise, right? So being able to heal them and then also give that like 6-up ward, pretty good.
Yeah, but it persists. There's a chance it persists, that it keeps going, right? Well, how does it read? Roll a die each time a model in that unit suffers a wound or a mortal wound on a 6 ignored. So it's got okay. So it's got a like a 6-up ward, effectively, and then the heal. So that I think that's the top notch one.
I really do. It's right up there for me. I think the 2 buffs, Light of Battle and Life Bloom, are the best 2 in this bunch, followed closely by Mystifying Miasma.
But the unfortunate thing is you take an Empire Battle Wizard and you're probably thinking of, throwing down Chain Lightning, Fireball, but the better ones are the buffers.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. I mean, look, if you're going to take a bunch of wizards, which you can do, you totally can do that. You might want to spread. It's a little bit unfortunate that you'd have to pick. I would love this if you had to choose from one of the list round to round.
I would hate that because I don't want people. Because let me tell you why I hate that. Because games, I don't want my opponent sitting there going,
Yep, you're right. Okay, I take it back. But the idea of picking one for the entire battle really kind of pushes out most of these. There's really 2 to 4 at best that I would ever pick.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. Amber Battle Wizard on an Imperial Griffin. Okay, what's better than a wizard? A wizard on a Griffin. All right, the Griffins are behemoths. They're dragons. They're dragons without the dragon breath. So, we let's just talk about with a magic spell because we don't need to say anything more than that, other than the fact that it's 13 wounds and it can cast and unbind. So Amber Spear is what really kind of sets this thing apart otherwise. And that is, okay. Oh, by the way, you can have the twin beaks, the twin heads. And that's
the 2-headed Griffin. Yeah.
The 2-headed Griffin, yes.
That's the goofiest of all models, yes.
It looks weird, but it's very effective. Okay, so Amber Sphere. It has a casting value of 7, so that's above average in terms of casting value. Sure, you can drop it, with a number of different means, but it's still a healthy casting value. And if it works, you have to find a visible model within 18 inches, draw a straight line, between the model and the caster. The target model, the target model's unit and any other unit that the line passes through suffer die 3 mortal wounds. Now, this could work against you if some of your units are in the way. Of course, friendly fire is a thing, so I wouldn't give a shit. Kill the guy. If it's going to work out in my favor, I'm going to take the die 3 mortal wounds on my own units. But the fact that you can, with a Griffin that can fly, it starts at 15-inch move, and cast, you can get that. It's really very reminiscent to that Purple Sun type ability. Yes, it's not quite as devastating, but you could get a line across several units with this. 18 inches. We're talking about 18 inches. So think about how many units could fall within that amount. This could do some serious damage. Now, you might not wipe out one unit, but you could put a hurt on several.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it's worth the casting value for what you get and for how you can utilize it with a flying, fast-moving unit. I like it.
My favorite thing about this model, this war scroll, is that it references the realm of beasts, and it's one of the few times you actually see reference to that kind of thing.
+1 to casting. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for bringing it up.
It's neat to see that kind of thing actually made real.
Yes, I think we forgot something else that's similar to that in one of the other war scrolls. Not similar to that, but along those lines of we should have mentioned. Yes, +1 to casting value for if this battle takes place in Realm of the Beasts. Very cool. I forgot to mention that some of the war machines are immune to all bravery-related effects.
Yeah, pretty standard war machine stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Even screaming type things like a Terrorgeist is not going to help you there. But yes, obviously keep in mind if you're playing in the Realm of Beasts, and take a Amber Battle Wizard on an Imperial Griffin.
Yeah, what I would be if I'm a cannon crew, what I'm worried about with a Terrorgeist is, I'm going to be able to yell at me, but it can certainly still pile into me and crush me.
Well, yeah, in Age of Sigmar, a Terrorgeist can actually fight.
Yes, he's not just absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Luminarch, the old the laser beam gun. Hey, and not ridiculous. So they've got white wizards on the top of them because I guess Gandalf rides one of these around. This is his personal ride. Yeah. So
Saruman.
Fair enough.
Also, it's the council.
Yep. So basically, if you've got your Lord of the Rings models around, you can go and throw them right up on top. The Locus of Hysh is weird because you get to it's a really good effect. 1 to unbinding is really strong. It's just how many wizards besides the guy on top are benefiting from this, right? Like it's that's a little more questionable of value. It passes out the whole 6-up ward still, right? Whenever they suffer a wound or mortal wound.
Again, so, free people.
Yes, free people. So good. I don't hate that ability, certainly. But obviously what we've got is the White Wizard's got his little Burning Gaze spell. So casting value of 6, visible target within 18 inches. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Double the number of wounds if it has 10 or more models, and triple them if it's 20 or more. Okay, so it's 3D3 mortal wounds on big units. I mean, that's not bad. It's okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you're going up against an army that has large block units or large volume, this is the thing you want to put out there. It's one of those things that is a counter. It's rare, but it does come into play to counter those big units, and I like that. I mean, that's pretty good. Doubling?
Yeah. To me, I think the actual value of this is right in that sweet spot of 10 models. If you've got Chaos Warriors, right? Something in that number. Mm-hmm. And just blasting them with 2d3 mortal wounds, you get an average of basically 2 guys drop dead on average if you get it off. That's pretty good.
I just want to take it with a men-at-arms unit of 40 or 50.
Sure. But obviously the real value here is the Searing Beam of Light. Let us not forget the giant laser cannon on top of this thing. Yeah. 1 attack, 3-up, neg 2 rend, and 6 damage. Uh-huh. I mean, it's got a giant cannonball beam, laser beam on the top.
Better than a cannonball. It starts at 6 wounds, not die 6.
That's true. Yeah, I'll give you that. I was thinking about the fact it only has 1 attack. I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head of what statistically how that all worked out. Hit and wound average the same, obviously, but yes, I'll give it to you. Undamaged, that 6 damage is a big deal. That's a huge old blast.
Yeah, and even though it's 30-inch range, you can move 10, so you get the 40.
There you go. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, and not only that, you can, because it's Age of Sigmar and it's in space, you could definitely play with that searing beam of light when you convert.
Sure, absolutely. I've already bought my Eldar Craft World hover tank.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Not really.
Okay. All right, detachments. The battalion formations. So, which one would you like to take?
I'll take the Knights.
Okay, let's go down to the Knights. The Brotherhood of Knights. Go for it.
So, what I find funny about this one is that the required troops are just take a bunch of Knights. Just go ahead, do that thing. No others. There's just nothing else. I mean, obviously you can combine this other stuff, but it's funny to me that that's what it is. So the Glorious Charge is quite good because it basically gives one extra attack with all their melee weapons when they charge. Knights in general, if you're like, I really am not impressed by most any of the Knights, and I think this is what you need to make them good. Because the difference, a lot of them don't have rend, so you need more attacks, but most of them are just one attack. Taking them up to 2 makes Knights honestly pretty solid. And then the Honor of the Order, which is just +1 bravery to everybody, is pretty forgettable. It's really the Glorious Charge that I think makes it worth it. If you're the Empire guy that ran the old 1-up wall and just had Knights everywhere, this is the war scroll for you because this can actually make Knights pretty worth it.
Now in a comp situation where you have limited amount of wounds because all mounted troops are now at least 2 wounds, tell me, I can't remember if we talked about it, how many is the minimum for Demigryphs?
3, and then the Knights themselves are 5. So, I mean, you really don't need that many to achieve this. Like, I mean, 15 Knights and 3 Demigryphs could achieve this battalion scroll. That's right. Nothing. I mean, most people who ran Cav in the old edition are certainly going to have that.
Right, or 2 units of Demigryphs. Either way, you can do it as the cornerstone of your army. And in a comp environment, whether it's wounds or models or combination, the thing that also strikes me with this is that it's a low model count.
Right.
So you're going to have some of that benefit as well. But yeah, I like it. And it's certainly tough. Yeah, I agree with you. I was not overly impressed with the Knights, but you take the Knights with the General, and that does help there as well. The order of the Knightly Orders bonus that they get.
Yep.
Which one was that? Was that the Grandmaster or was it the Grandmaster?
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal.
Whatever, I don't know.
Whatever. He was grand.
That guy.
All right. State detachment, state troop detachment. Now, this is one of those things where it's like, yes, this is going to be your army. It is a large.
It's a very classic older edition Empire army.
Right. So you probably have all of these. And I think that the most likely scenario is you probably have both of these these battalions, because you probably have all the units for the Knights, probably have the Demigryphs, and you probably have all the rest of this. So you're probably good to combine these in one game for a decent sized game. But you need to get a general, or general and an Imperial Griffin, 3 units of state troops, so you get that benefit where all 3 can benefit from that from the command ability. It says or handgunners, crossbowmen, or Empire archers in any combination. So clearly you could spread that out as well. A unit of Greatswords, Pistoliers, or Outriders. Yes to all of them. Well, the Outriders are the better ones, right? Better than the Pistoliers, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Also, them Greatswords are pretty decent. And they're going to get a lot better in about 10 seconds when you read it.
Yes, indeed. It's too bad. Well, I don't have all this stuff to combine with the Bretonnians, but I love me some Greatswords. Okay, stand together, fight together. You add 1 to the hit rolls for all units in a state troop detachment if it's within 6 inches of another unit in a state from the detachment. I love this. I saw this also in one of the I think it's the skeletal one for vampire counts, where they get that bonus if they all stay near each other. Yep. A lot of these units are going to be within 6 inches. It's not terribly hard. And if you consider the fact that you could take one of these units, kind of ring the bottom with that U-shape, the cup formation, whatever you want to call it, with crossbowmen or handgunners or whatever, you're not. These are going to be big blocks or big clusters that are going to be within 6 inches, easily done. Okay, so that's a given. +1 hit rolls all day long. Okay, regimental discipline. Okay, units from the state troop detachment have a +1 bravery when they're within 10 inches of the Empire general. Now, let's also remember that in some cases you're going to have immunity or you're going to have bonuses to bravery from spells or whatever. There's a lot of that stuff going on already, potentially, especially if you take a war altar or if you take a one of the wizards. But yeah, if you don't have it, this is pretty good because it's 10 inches either direction, +1 bravery. In addition, if you roll a 1 during the battle shock phase, nobody flees. All right, and wait, if the unit includes any standard bearers, nobody flees on a 1 or 2. Who's not going to take a standard bearer? So on a 1 or 2, nobody flees. So even if you're, if you're in the detachment, you're outside of that mark, you still have a battle shock ward. Not bad.
All right, take that second ability, write it down on a piece of paper, crumple up that piece of paper, put it in a car, drive that car into a lake. Who cares? Forget it. It's irrelevant. You should be immune to brave battle shock all over the place. That first ability makes this entire thing worth it. Handgunners hitting on 1s, Greatswords hitting on 2s. That's how you need to read that first ability.
I'll take the Greatswords. I'll take both of those, absolutely.
Yep.
You're probably going to be immune to battle shock from something else.
Yeah, there's 50 ways to be immune to battle shock. I'm serious. Just forget it. That second ability's in the lake. It's not even a thing anymore. Who cares?
You said that same thing for another detachment ability. I forget which one. The exact same description.
There's that, but that lake is full of a lot of rules.
It's full of a bunch of these pieces of paper.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go with let's unshare here. So we could see our ugly mugs and get rid of this. So that worked out really nicely. So let's start with closing thoughts. What's your overall impression of the army? What do you think about who's improved, who's weak, who's lesser? What do you think of the combinations? Any final thoughts about the Empire?
Yeah, I like the Empire. I think they're good. They still very much feel like a jack of all trades army, right? They feel like they have a lot of different viable units. Their knights are clearly not as good as they were, like the old 1-up armor wall, which is probably fine. They're still useful. I'm not saying they're crap or anything. They're not. They're still good. Demigryphs are still pretty good. I think the Empire army works best when it works synergistically. That's how it reads to me. And you need a little bit of war machines and an engineer and some good state troops and a couple knights to get around the side, whatever. Which is exactly what I want to see in an Empire army, right? Nobody skew Empire armies always bothered the crap out of me thematically, narratively. I think this army works best when it synergizes amongst its various components, and I'm glad to see that brought to light because that's what I want to see on the table.
Yeah, I think it still feels like an Empire army. I think it still works like an Empire army. I think it's very effective. I think it's still very scary and dangerous. There's a lot of fun you can have in terms of mixing and matching units, especially stuff that any Empire player probably already has. I would love to see combinations with Bretonnia. I love that they have so much of a stronger connection with the war machines, the Altar, the Luminarch, and whatnot. I'm pretty happy with it, and I can't wait to play against it. So I guess on that note, unless you have any other closing thoughts.
Good time as always. Glad to do it.
Thanks again. As always, Vince, you always bring some great color commentary and great analysis. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to have some more of these. Obviously, there's still a few armies left. We're going to get through it. Look up, some of the other videos I have out. I have a bunch of Convert This videos that are coming out, as well as a bunch of battle reports still in the hopper. I've got the Twitter account rocking. Anybody who wants to donate on Patreon, please feel free. It's not required in any way, but I'm going to start giving away some stuff. So once we get to some benchmarks, I'll put up a video on that. And, I look forward to more of this with you, Vince. We'll recruit you and Tom and a couple other people and see if we can get some more of these going in the next couple of weeks. Thanks again.
Sounds great.
Have a good night, everybody.